Can you confirm whether the audio is clear now? All right. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all here. So this is the starting point. That is Byju's Exam Prep, the new platform. How to log in with your registered mobile and your email ID. Followed by that, which exam are you preparing for? You click on IAS, and if it is English that you have selected as your medium of instruction, you click on IAS, and then finally you have your enrolled close IAS tablet, then the tablet learning program, what is available, the study materials, the PDFs, the unit test, the webinars, the tablet videos, all these will be available in your Exam Prep IAS platform. Clear, people? Now, coming to the topics of the day. Excuse me. Rare earth elements, trade deficit in India, carbon market, increase in incidences of new viruses in Asia and Africa, Enforcement Directorate. So we have basically kept the most important topic towards the end of the session. So I want you people to attend this webinar to its fullest. Don't miss out on anything. Because here I'll be telling you three things. Number one, it is the current affairs. Number two, when you have such voluminous current affair, how to study them, how to compress the information in an easy way so that revision becomes quicker and you can remember things easily. Number three, what is the strategy to adopt to write good mains answers and how to identify a correct answer or a wrong answer. So these are the things that we will be focusing today. So starting with the very first topic here, rare earth elements. Under rare earth elements, the first important current affair that we are going to see will be the Mineral Security Partnership, a US-led initiative with 11 countries as its members. 11 nations. For what purpose? To strengthen the critical mineral supply. Now, why you need to strengthen the critical mineral supply? Because for those of you who would have booked a car, should be knowing it, or those of you who were reading current affairs should be knowing it, that there was a semiconductor chip shortage which affected almost all the industry, including automobile. Because these days, most of the cars are actually most of the functions are performed electronically. So it did create a shortage. And to avoid such shortage, what is essential? You need supply of minerals for it, a continuous and steady supply. And right now, most of the rare earth elements, they come from where? They come from China. And we all know Chinese cannot be trusted, just like their products. So this whole strategy, the Mineral Security Partnership strategy led by USA along with 11 nations, which is aimed to strengthen the critical mineral supply chain, is part of the global China Plus One strategy that was endorsed after COVID-19 pandemic, which is basically to counter China. That is the idea here. And important part from the prelims perspective is India is not part of this engagement. Now, why is India not part of this engagement? We will see it in a while. But apart from that, what should we understand here? Is India happy with this? Is India sitting on the sitting in the gallery and watching the things? No. India is also trying through various diplomatic channels to get membership into it. Why? Because this is a non-Chinese led group. A non-Chinese led group means India did not depend on China. Plus, because USA wants to put a stop to the Chinese dragons bullying, USA will be more than willing, along with the 11 nations, to collaborate with India. So India should try really hard to see to it that it gets membership into Minerals Security Partnership Group. Clear so far? Taking the discussion a little more further. According to the US Geological Survey. Now, whenever you read any current affair, you will always be having what? You will always be having so many data and some general points. The general points you will write. I am confident about it. Why? Because you are intelligent enough to write general things. But what will make your answer really strong and give it a professional touch is the fact. According to US Geological Survey, supplies from China had started to become erratic as early as 1990, because Chinese sometimes will give it, sometimes they will stop giving it. China kept changing quantity that it would allow to be produced and exported. So it will keep on changing. Is there any criteria? Is there any reason? No hard and specific reason. This is one thing. Second thing is with regard to investors. Let us see what it is. The Chinese government began to limit the number of companies, both Chinese and Sino-foreign joint ventures. Sino-foreign joint ventures means a collaboration. That also they limited, that could export rare earth metals from China. So these are the two events. So you can clearly see from the 1990s itself, with regard to rare earth elements, you cannot trust the Chinese. So that is the reason why now there is this whole grouping without the China, without the Chinese. Clear, people? Clear so far? Now, this is the next important thing that I wanted to tell you. Now, rare earth element, you will see in your handout also, there is so much amount of data. What do? You compress it. How do you compress it? You compress it in this fashion. Rare earth elements, what is its significance? It includes both metallic or non-metallic elements. It is important for modern technologies, economies, or national security. Various critical technologies, especially for information communication technology, military hardware, and what not, rare earth elements are critical. They are important especially for the low emission technologies, especially for batteries. What exactly is the definition of rare earth element that differs from country to country? Each country has its own list of a rare earth element. Similarly, India too has its list under the Department of Science and Technology, Critical Mineral Strategy for India in 2016, which has identified 49 minerals as what? Rare earth elements. Done. Was that difficult? Metals or non-metals? Modern technologies, low emission technologies, individual countries having their own list. We have our own list, 49 minerals. Done. Got it? You can remember it. You can recollect it at any point of time. In fact, the only major thing that you have to remember here is this box here. That is the main thing that you have to remember. The rest all you will write. Not a difficult thing at all. Getting the picture, people? Throughout these current affairs session, this is what you're going to see. Now, how is it significant? Obviously, it is metallic or non-metallic element. Therefore, it will have a unique set of applications. A unique set of applications will be there accordingly. Then, limited availability. You don't have it available in plenty. Number one, increased dependency, especially on those countries which are rich in it. Number one, which are also good at processing it. And we are talking about which country here? We are talking about China here. Increased dependency on China. Then there is an increase in global demand. Why there is an increase in global demand? Reason is simple. The Industrial Revolution 4.0. What is Industrial Revolution 4.0? The fourth industrial revolution what we are having. First industrial revolution was steam engine. The very first one, which led to colonialism, imperialism, etc. Second industrial revolution was what? Electrical power, which led to what? Which helped in mass production. As you can clearly see, after electrical power came into picture, we had two major world wars. Then we had electronic power, electronic revolution. That was IR3, which took place from the late 70s, early 80s, so on and so forth. Basically, all the laptops, computers, gadgets, whatever you're using today is what? Industrial Revolution 3.0. The next revolution is Industrial Revolution 4.0, where basically we will be having transparent mobile phones, transparent televisions, transparent glasses on which if you knock on it, like your window panes, if you knock on it, your mobile phone screen will appear on the window. If I tap on my fridge will have the display screen of my phone. So these are the next stage of what? Revolution. That is going to happen. We are going to witness this maybe in another 10 years. Then the Chinese domination especially. So rare earth elements, we know, we also saw increased dependency is there in terms of what? In terms of imports, etc. But there again, China is the dominant player and the Chinese dragon cannot be trusted. That is the reason why we need to what? We need to develop this completely. Clear? Now again, facts. According to the US government, global demand for these critical minerals is set to rapidly increase by 400 to 600% over the next several decades. What does that mean? That is the level of demand that is going to be there. Your answer should have these type of fact. I can write, okay, the demand is going to increase. That 90% of the people who are writing mains will write. But if you want first rank, you want to be in the top 10 ranks, you want the cadre of your choice, you want the service of your choice, you will write it with pure facts. Even if one single point you write, you will validate it with a fact. Even if you don't quote US government, it is fine. But this value should be there. Similarly, for minerals such as lithium and graphite, which are used in electric vehicle batteries, demand will increase by as much as 4,000%. Got the picture? 400 to 600 for most of the other things, rare earth elements. Specifically for electric vehicles, 4,000% is the increase. Clear? Moving on. Again, more facts on the way. As per the 2019 US Geological Survey Mineral Commodity Summaries Report, China is the world's largest producer of 16 critical minerals. According to the International Energy Agency report, China is responsible for 70% and 60% of global production of cobalt and rare earth elements, respectively, in 2019. China is leading even in processing operations. What do you mean by processing? See, you could be having rare earth elements right now, maybe say under UP or under Karnataka. That is, a reserve is available, but you have to extract it without disturbing the environment. You have to process it. All of that is there. In that terms, when you see, China is leading there also. So it is not just in one area that China is leading. China is literally leading everywhere. China's share of refining is around 35% for nickel, 50 to 70% for lithium and cobalt, and nearly 90% for rare earth elements. You know what that means? That clearly means China can very well dominate in the production of lithium, ion batteries, cobalt batteries, and can even dominate on what? Nickel, cadmium batteries. The batteries which are very, very critical for electric vehicles, the Chinese can dominate there. Getting the picture, people? Mineral security partnership in a nutshell. From prelims perspective, let us see what is important to remember here. First of all, it is the membership. 11 countries we talked about. Canada, France, Australia, Finland, Germany, Japan. That is 6. South Korea, Sweden, United Kingdom, and the European Commission or the European Union. So 6 plus 5, 11, plus the United States of America. What is the basic purpose here? Developing the full value chain. Full value chain means what? Right from extraction of the rare earth element all the way to processing it and using it for different sectors. Investments will be there from both government and private players when it comes to the mineral security partnership. Then the focus will be on the supply chain of minerals such as cobalt, nickel, lithium, and 17 rare earth elements. Cobalt, nickel, lithium. Again, why? Cobalt, nickel, lithium, because you need them for the batteries. Future of motorcade or motor vehicles is what? Electricity. 30 years from down the line, your grandchildren will be basically questioning, like, how did you even drive a petrol engine or a petrol car? They'll be basically wondering it, because 30 years or 40 years from the line, it will be the only norm will be what? Electric vehicles. Clear? Now, rare earth metals. Again, we are seeing another aspect to it. Like what are its features, what types are they, etc. Again, I have compressed and kept it. First point is they are not truly rare. They are available. They are available in scattered portion all over the world. They are unusually fluorescent. Fluorescent means they reflect light. They are conductive and they have magnetic properties. They are lustrous, silvery, white, soft, heavy metals. Silvery white. That is why that fluorescence is there. And soft, heavy metals they are. Some of them, like promethium, is radioactive. And they are a group of 17 chemical elements in the periodic table that includes 15 lanthanides as well as scandium and yttrium. So lanthanides are basically again metals in the atomic number range between 54 to 71. Should you remember that level of detailing? Not necessary, because this is not a chemistry paper. If you know that it contains lanthanides plus scandium and yttrium, enough. 15 plus 2. What is this 15? Lanthanides. What is the 2? Scandium, yttrium. Done. That is all that is there to it. Apart from that, what do we know? They include even metals plus non-metals. Done. They are rare. Not all of them are entirely rare, but then they are rare. Then increased dependency, imports, Chinese domination. These are the other aspects that you will remember when it comes to rare earth metals. Got it? Moving on. What are their applications? Where and all you can use them? Consumer electronics, computer and networks. Consumer electronics basically means what? From iPad to phone, smartphone to computers to laptops, desktops, everything. For communication, for clean energy, advanced transportation, healthcare, environmental mitigation, and even for defense. Critical technologies can be developed for defense warfare. These are its applications. Again, facts with regard to China. China controls almost 90% of world rare earth metal production, while only possessing 36% of global rare earth metal reserves. Look at that. 36% only reserves they have, but then they control 90% of the production. That is the reason why MSP becomes important. They can also be found in Australia, Brazil, India, Canada, and South Africa, among other places. That is, rare earth metals are found in these areas. Total world reserves are estimated at 121 million tons of rare earth oxides. You can start your answer with any one of these points. These points have been put here exclusively so that this can be used as introduction for your mains answer. Clear? China alone accounts for 44 million tons, followed by Brazil and Vietnam, 18% each, and Russia, 15% in terms of what? Rare earth oxides. Now, we saw China. Where is China standing? 90% in terms of production, 36% in terms of reserve. All right. Now, let us see where is India standing. India Rare Earth Limited, found in 1950, a government-owned company that processes monazite sand on a commercial basis. Monazite sand is definitely found. One example, where can you find them? They are found in the sands of Kerala. In the state of Kerala, you can find monazite sands. Clear? Some rare earth metals found in India are lanthanum, cerium, neodymium, praseodymium, and samarium. Others such as dysprosium, terbium, europium, which are classified as heavy rare earth elements, are not available in Indian deposits in extractable quantities. This is a prelims point. Just keep it in mind. Clear? Hence, there is a heavy dependence on countries such as China for heavy rare earth elements. Say, for example, talk about a parallel analogy, if I were to say, the pharmaceutical industry. So we are trying to produce medicines which are very cheap. And we have a thriving export sector for what? Exporting cheap medicines. Okay. But to manufacture this medicine, you need something known as API, active pharmaceutical ingredient, which we don't have. So if we don't have API, then how are we manufacturing our medicines then? We are importing it. We are importing it from where? We are importing it from China. That means for our thriving medical industry or pharmaceutical industry, or for our thriving exports of our pharmaceutical industry, we are dependent on whom? We are dependent on China. Same situation is coming up here also. Even for our rare earth elements, even to manufacture anything, we are ultimately dependent on whom? The Chinese, which is one of the leading producers of rare earth element. Rare earth minerals are very important to India in order to reduce energy burden, because like I told you, critically for electric vehicles, India wants to become the Detroit of EVs. Detroit is actually the name of a city in USA. And Detroit at one point of time, not now, at one point of time used to be a car manufacturing hub. So India wants to become the Detroit of EV, means India wants to become the world leader in the production of electric vehicles. But for that, you need rare earth elements, because we know nickel is required, cobalt is required, lithium is required, which is not exactly rare earth. But then their extraction is very important, of paramount significance. But for that, you are dependent on the Chinese. Minerals like cobalt, nickel, and lithium are required for batteries used in electric vehicle. They are vital for the manufacture of advanced defense equipment. They are also necessary for reducing environmental pollution and degradation. Clear, people? These are the other points. India is seen. Now, why? Let us see. Now, MSP is there. We know these days that there is a huge, turmoil boiling up in the Taiwan region. We know that USA and China don't meet eye to eye. USA knows it very well that they have to take the help of the Indian tiger to deal with the Chinese dragon. USA is aware of it. Yet, why do you think when it came to this mineral security grouping, why do you think they did not call India? Why didn't they invite India into the grouping? First of all, a late achiever. When it comes to the lithium value chain, even now, the batteries for most of the electric vehicles in India, where does it come from? It comes from China. A late achiever, which has increased our dependence on lithium-ion batteries. Another reason why India would not have found a place in the grouping is the country could not bring any expertise on the table, which is true. What has India achieved when it comes to extraction of rare earth elements? What new technology India has found? Or has India found any way to extract the rare earth element without degrading the environment? Nothing. When India has nothing to offer, why invite India? When India itself doesn't know anything. In the group, countries like Australia and Canada have reserves and the technology to extract them. They have reserve, they have the technology. And countries like Japan have the technology to process rare earth element. So that is the reason why Australia, Canada, and Japan are there. Australia and Canada have the reserve. They know how to extract it. Japanese know how to process it. None of these India knows as of now. Despite having one of the world's largest reserves of rare earth metals, India has been unable to develop as a rare earth manufacturer. No separate policy has been formulated to increase rare earth metal production. Solely the focus has been on downstream production, not upstream. What is the difference between upstream and downstream? Upstream means right from exploration. That is, first I have to explore where rare earth element is there. First I explore, I find it out, then I start doing various surveys, find out how it can be extracted, and I extract the metal out. then I process it and I produce it. This much is involved where in the upstream. In the downstream process, what is involved? Metals, once it is produced finally, then they are used for the secondary stage. Secondary stage means what? You convert it for something else, for making chips, for making hardware, defense related, electric vehicle related, battery related. That is left to you. So India so far has only been doing what? Only been doing downstream production, not the upstream one. Because upstream again requires what? Environmental damage. If you actually look into the Indian map, Himalayas, Great Plains, the rivers, Deccan Plateau, Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, Northeastern Himalayas. Where are you going to extract? Which region will you extract without disturbing the environment? Impossible, literally impossible. That is why India has been what? Focusing more on the downstream rather than the upstream. So it's a fine balancing act that India is doing right now. Getting the picture here. Moving on. In this field, India has failed to stimulate entrepreneurship because largely there is only one player right now, which is from the side of the government. Private entrepreneurs or private investors are yet to come forward and take an active interest in this. Sector was set aside for the government. Companies rely heavily on China since the same rare earth may be obtained for a considerably lower price in China. As usual, Chinese products are cheaper and the cost involved in importing it and utilizing here in India is far lesser than exploring it, finding it out and extracting it, producing it, then putting it for a downstream process. None of that is involved here. Important challenge and issue for India today is to scale its upstream and downstream process in the value chain. Why downstream also? So that we can produce the chips what we need here. We can produce the batteries what we require here itself. That is, the focus is on indigenous production. Getting the idea, people? Moving on. Monopoly of the government of India. India has granted only government corporations such as IREL, India Rare Earth Limited, a monopoly that contains our rare earth elements. Like for example, the monazite beach sand found in many coastal states like the state of Kerala. Mining and extraction process are capital intensive and consumes a large amount of energy. You have to mine it out, you have to dig it out, you have to process it out, and you need large amount of power for it. And what is the situation in India? India is an energy starving country. That shouldn't come as a surprise, considering the fact that we import a large amount of coal. Getting the idea here? This is the scenario. Moving on. Done with that which. So MSP, USA plus 11 countries. India is not a member. Significance of rare earth elements. Only one public sector company from India into the manufacture of everything. No private players involved. Chinese are dominating it with 90% of the production and 36% of the reserve. India's dependence on these Chinese goods will actually put a stop or a roadblock to India's dreams of becoming either a 5 trillion economy or to become the Detroit with regard to the manufacture of electric vehicles and that of batteries. This is what it is in a nutshell. Clear, people? Understood how to make the flowcharts also, like I have represented here. Now let us take up this question. Consider the following statements with respect to the mineral security partnership recently seen in the news. Mineral Security Partnership is an ambitious new alliance formed by the US to secure supply chains of critical minerals. The focus of this group will be on the supply chain of minerals such as cobalt, nickel, lithium, and also 17 rare earth minerals. India is a founding member of this agreement. All right. Now, These are your options. Note down the options on the side. One only, 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3, 1, 2 and 3. Just note it down on the side. I'll give you 10 seconds for it. And your time starts now. There you go. Very good, Supriya. Very good, Birendra. Very good, Rupesh. Very good, Anurag. Very good, Raman. Very good, Zoya. Swami, Amrita, Smriti, Ayush, Akhil, Akhilesh, Sneha, Anjali. All right. So a whooping 74% had answered it as B. All right. And in the leaderboard, we have Anwar Basha, Avnit Kumar, Sumit Arya, Abhijit S, Kavyashri Gajaravu, Devaya BP, Lakshmi Sagar, Nandini, Pintu Gupta, Surjendu Mukherjee, Dominic Amalan, Akhil Mundra, Janavi, Anit Kant, Kiran R, Saurav, B. Krishna, Krisha Jignesh Gaur, Shalu Meena, Anshika Saini, and Hinduja. Congratulations. Others don't feel disheartened. It is just that those who answer it correctly and fast, their names come first. That's it. For those of you who have put it up in the chat section on this side, I have read out their names also. Okay. So basically what it is, the first two statements, they are absolutely correct. Whereas the third statement is wrong. India is not a founding member. India is nowhere near the picture. So what is this? B is the correct answer. It is a straightaway sitter type question. Now, despite having one of the world's largest reserves of rare earth metals, India has been unable to develop as a rare earth metals manufacturer. In this context, discuss India's major concerns and suggest some measures that India can take to become a major global player in this sector. So you have to say, what is it? What are the concerns that India is not a major manufacturer? And what measures will you suggest? So, as part of the intro, anything to do with, even remotely to do with geography, what do? I draw the map first. All right. Just so that it will look like India, you draw one Sri Lanka also there. Otherwise, people will think it is a melted ice cream cone. Okay. So you put it up there. You roughly mark the Himalayas, the Deccan Plateau. All right. All this you mentioned. And what is the geography? All right. So geographically, what is, so introduction you will give again. What do you mean by rare earth elements? 15 lanthanides plus scandium plus yttrium. That is what you mean by rare earth element, because basic definition you're supposed to give. Then what are the concerns? Concerns, when we talk about what and all points you can write. Number one, you can talk about the first geographical reason, because we are a ecologically sensitive nation. So it is not easy to extract. Then technologically, we are backward. Number three, it's a monopoly of the state. Even now, state is controlling it. Private participation is less. Number four, it is environmentally a degrading process. Number 5. No collaboration so far with what? With international countries. Now, what are the measures that you will give to address this? Geographically, how to do? What can be done? Proper studies should be conducted, especially, let us say, environmental impact assessment. This is the countermeasure you are giving. Number 2, technology again. Accessing technology from developed nations. Number 3, private participation should be encouraged. Environmentally degrading process. So what you should do, you should at least try to extract the metals from other countries, like say from Australia or from Brazil or from Canada, and get the metal from there. Best case scenario, that is the next best scenario that is available. If you want to protect your environment, you allow the other country's environment to get degraded, but still what you will do, even there, you are not dependent on China. Number 5, what? Obviously, collaboration. Conclusion, you will give about 400 to 600% growth and about 4000% growth with regard to EV. Answer is done. Is this difficult? Drawing a map, putting this up. And one thing you will observe, whatever concerns I wrote here, based on that only I made my countermeasures. That way what happens is, you write down the concern, from that itself you will get the countermeasure. You don't have to remember 2 different data separately. Getting the idea? That is where they say you have to work smart, not hard. Hard work is needed. I'm not disputing that fact, but it doesn't mean that you sit and study everything. So this one you do, automatically you will get what? The counter solutions for it. Clear, people? Very, very important topic, trade deficit in India. We are going to come across some very important economic terms. So I want your 100% attention here. Starting with what? Trade deficit in India reached a new high of US dollar 31.02 billion in July 2022, owing to falling goods exports and rising import. So what is trade deficit? When we say trade deficit, what does it mean? What do you mean by deficit? Deficit itself means shortage. And when we say there is a trade deficit, there is a trade shortage. Means what? Import payments are more than export earnings. We have to pay more and we are earning less through our exports. That is what it means. The first year-on-year decrease in exports in 17 months, along with a 44% increase in imports. 44%. Let us look at the data now. Let us try to understand this. External trade, when we talk about, there is something known as balance of trade. Balance of trade simply means what? The total number of exports what we do, the total number of imports what we make. That is what you call balance of trade, where it is lying. Then you have BOT imbalance. BOT imbalance means what? Imports and exports are in equilibrium. Both are at equilibrium. There is no exports are not more than the imports. Imports are not more than the exports. It's perfectly balanced. Deficit BOT or trade deficit means what? Import is more than the export. Surplus BOT or trade surplus means what? Export is more than the import. This is the scenario. Clear, people? Now, what did the government do that led to this scenario? Number 1, first of all, what is the present situation in India right now? You should be knowing it. That is, inflation is high. That is a couple of weeks ago, or maybe even months ago, we decided not to export wheat. Correct. We decided not to export wheat. What was the reason for it? There was a domestic shortage. That was the reason why we decided we won't export wheat. Whatever wheat is there, we will use it for domestic purposes. Which means to encourage domestic demand or to meet the domestic demand, we discouraged export. Whoever wanted to export also, we told them, no. For now, don't export anything. Keep everything within the country only. Because there is inflation. Because there is domestic shortage. Government intervened to curb exports of specific commodities due to domestic demand and inflation, which contributed to the trade deficit increasing. Because if you want your exports to increase, what should be done? You should export things. But here you have curbed your export. You have asked to stop exporting. Why? Domestic shortage, domestic inflation. Number one. So to discourage export, what other thing the government did? Export tax. Means what? If I have a commodity, say this is my commodity, I want to export this. But if I have to sell 1 unit of this abroad, I'll have to pay a tax to the government. Now, who would want to do that? Rather, what I will do? Sell it here locally. Again, what will happen? Exports will decrease. On a variety of steel commodities in late May 2022, with the goal of increasing domestic availability and limiting the price increase, which have reduced exports of engineering goods. Obviously, steel is like the mother of all materials associated with engineering. Without any engineering good you want to sell or you want to export, steel is the principal component. When you are telling that very steel should not be exported, what will happen? Associated products also cannot be exported. Everything will remain within the country only. Government's intervention to curb petroleum product export contributed to trade deficit increasing. So there also again curbing. So petroleum product export. Mind you, crude oil we import. Crude oil we import. After importing that crude oil, we subject it to fractional distillation, from where we get various products: petrol, diesel, kerosene, aviation turbine fuel, Vaseline, so on and so forth, tar. That components, again we placed, curbs on its exports. Why? Domestic requirement. So overall, if you see, the interventions made by the government totally did what? Discouraged exports. Clear? Then, this is one side, what government did. Now, let me tell you one thing. Recession or contraction in the European and American economy means what? In America right now, again, if you see, inflation is at a very high level. And as a result of this, what is happening is people are also getting thrown out of jobs. Now imagine, if a person, Mr. A, loses his job, what will be his immediate concern? Like a person A who is in USA. Will he think about buying the exotic Alfonso mangoes that comes from Maharashtra, from India to eat? Will he be bothered about purchasing Pashmina shawl or the Kashmiri saffron from India? He will be only worried about how to pay his bills, how to pay for his insurance, how to pay for his rent, how to pay for his food. That is, when a person loses their job, their money, purchasing power that is there with them, that comes down. The concern or whatever interest that they want to buy now, the basket of goods that they want to buy now will be basic necessities. In such a scenario, they are not going to buy any exotic products that are coming from India, or for that matter, in from any part of the world. Why? They can't afford it. Therefore, if many people in USA lose their job, what will happen with the exports that are going from India to USA? That will get cut down. As far as India is concerned, USA is one of our largest trading partners. Followed by USA, the next in line is European Union. If these two regions cut down on exports, cut down on their imports. Their import is what? What they buy from us. If they cut it down, our exports will get reduced. So overall, if you see, domestic policies which discouraged exports, plus the lack of a market for Indian goods abroad led to poor exports. Contractions in the European and American economies are having an adverse impact on the Indian economy, given that US and European Union consumed over a third of India's goods exports in the previous fiscal year. That is more than 30% of India's exports are consumed by whom? USA and European Union put together. As demand in these sectors declined, exports slowed down. Pretty natural. There is no market, nobody to buy the mangoes, nobody to buy Indian leather goods, nobody to buy Indian apparels, nobody to buy Indian medicine, nobody, okay, Indian medicine may be an exception, but then nobody to buy Indian spices. So everything getting cut down, automatically what will happen? Exports will slow down. Imports, however, increased. Imports increased. Why? Indian scenario, if you see, coal, crude oil, and gold. We cannot live without these three ingredients. No matter gold's price crosses now tomorrow 10,000 rupees per gram also, trust me, every girl, every father, every brother, every husband, every wife, every sister, everybody would still buy it. Because it is a symbol of pride, it is a symbol of security, it is a symbol of love. So nobody will understand the economics of it. That is, gold, we don't have sufficient quantity in our country. We have to buy it from abroad. And when you keep buying it from abroad, you will have to make your payment in what? Dollar. Same thing goes for crude oil. We don't have it in sufficient quantity. We have to buy it from abroad. We'll have to make payment in dollar. Same thing goes for coal. And as you keep making payment after payment for all these three ingredients, what ends up happening? Because crude oil prices are very high thanks to the Russian-Ukraine war. Coal, again, the prices are high. Gold, prices are high. So all this, when the prices are high, overall, what will be the cumulative impact on our import bill? Very huge. Imports increased at a rapid pace. Crude oil, coal, culinary oil, and electronic goods. Coal and coke alone cost more than $5.1 billion. The rise in crude oil costs and increased gold imports are placing strain on India's current account. Domestic production. Some goods are not being produced domestically. In that case, they have to be imported. Obviously, if most of the goods, whatever we see here today, they are not actually produced here. They are produced abroad. We import them. Classic example is the smartphones. The cars that you see here, barring a Tata and a Mahindra and maybe a Maruti, if you look at the vehicles that are plying on the road these days, they are either from Korea or they are from Europe. Getting the idea? So that is what it is. Weak currency. That is the other reason why we are having a trade deficit. Now, what is this weak currency? External sector is becoming increasingly vulnerable. Why? Growing trade deficit will increase the current account deficit, putting pressure on the rupee. What do you mean by current account deficit? In a nutshell, current account means all your ongoing transactions. That is, it will have exports, it will have imports, it will have remittances. What are remittances? Money that is sent by Indians who are sitting abroad to their home. That is, those Indians who are in the Middle East, they will send money home. Indians who are there in Canada, USA, Australia, Europe, they will send their money home. All that money that comes from other parts of the world into India, which are sent by Indians to their home or their families back home, that is what you call remittance. And all of that comes under current account. And if your imports are more than your exports, plus the remittances that is coming into the country, then you have a current account deficit, CAD. That is what it means. So current account deficit increases. What does that mean? That means I have to make more payment in dollar. I'm not earning sufficient dollar. My exports are less, my remittances are less. I don't have enough dollar to make my payment. That means there is a high demand for dollar because everybody, whoever is importing it, the coal that you're importing, the crude oil that you're importing, the gold that you're importing, you will have to make payment in what? You'll have to make payment in dollar, but you don't have sufficient dollar. So dollar demand is increasing because whatever is always in shortage in supply, demand will increase. Classic example I will tell you. For those of you who have stayed in hostel should be knowing this. 15-20 days, let us say you are staying in hostel, or 2 days, 2 months, 3 months, at a stretch you stayed in hostel. You went back home. Your mother will immediately turn into Jaya Bachchan from Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum. Correct? She will be showering love on you. Wait for 24 hours. You will see her other side. Which is what? She'll be like, when are you leaving? Why are you so useless? Etc. etc. Many other comments also will follow. But you get the point. What is it? 3 months, your mother didn't see you. Your supply was limited. So your demand increased, at least for the 24 hours. Beyond 24 hours, you supplied yourself too much. Demand went down. Everything in life is a simple case of supply and demand. Anything can be explained with this. I know it is a very crude example, but I hope you get the point. Because supply of a particular currency, if you increase a lot, demand will go down. Supply of a currency is less, demand will shoot up. And in Indian scenario, which currency is in demand? Dollars. Why? We have to make payment in dollars because our currency is rupee, but nobody wants the rupee. So automatically with every appreciation of the value of dollar, the rupee value will go down. And when rupee value keeps on going down, what happens? Let us say earlier my import bill was $100. At what time? When for 60 rupees, I used to get $1. That means if $100 was my import bill, now how much should I pay? I should pay 6,000 rupees. Correct? Currently, if you see, $1 is shuttle servicing anywhere between and around 80 rupees. The same $100 is my import bill. But now rupee has depreciated because of increased demand for dollar. As a result of which, how much should I pay now? I must pay 8,000 rupees now. Clear with that? So more the value of rupee depreciates, I'll have to make more and more and more payment, which means rupee will continue to slide down, which means my deficit will increase. Overseas portfolio investments have been negative and FDI has been significantly smaller, putting pressure on the rupee. What does that mean now? Overseas portfolio investment. Imagine for a minute, just imagine that I am Tom Cruise sitting in USA. I want to invest in India because India is a growing economy. India seems like a very good example of, great growth. If I invest it today, great returns I will get in the future. I decided to invest. How? Through my bank, I invested in a bank in USA, which contacted a bank in India and bought a few shares of Reliance or Tata, and I bought a few shares. But later on, I am seeing Indian inflation is going up. India's unemployment is going up. I decided, okay, maybe I should wait for a few more years before I invest in India. What do? I call and I pull out I sell all the shares, whatever I bought. Now, when I do that, what happens? I am selling all the shares. I am pulling out my investment. When I bought the shares, I had to convert my dollar to rupee. Convert dollar to rupee because I wanted to invest in India. I cannot use dollar to buy the shares of Tata. No, I had to convert dollar to rupee. I wanted rupee. That means rupee was in demand. Value will increase. Now, when I don't want the investment of USA, when I don't want the investment of India, because India is not doing well, according to Tom Cruise. So what do? I will sell all my shares. I'll get the money in rupee, but sitting in USA, what use I have with rupee? I'll say that convert the rupee to dollar now. Converting the rupee to dollar means I'm demanding dollar back. Demand for dollar is increasing, which means what? Dollar value will increase. On top of it, I told my friends also, see, don't invest in India. So whatever investments into the share market was coming through portfolio investment, that just stopped. Similarly, FDI investment, foreign direct investment, that was supposed to be coming, again, that was very small, putting more pressure on the rupee. That means there was no means by which dollar could come into the country. Exports were less, markets are not there, portfolio investment is not there, FDI is not there, imports are very high, rupee is going on sliding down, all contributing to what? An increase in trade deficit. Once again, in detail, balance of payment has two accounts: current account, capital account. Current account includes exports and imports, trade and services, IT services, tourism industry, education services, health services, all of that. Transfer payments, gifts made, remittances, all that comes under this. Under capital account, all overseas acquisitions. Overseas acquisitions means what? Tata buying Jaguar and Land Rover from Ford Motors. That is an overseas acquisition, which will come under what? Capital account. Sales of assets such as money, stock, bonds. Whatever assets you have, when you sell it off, because money, stock and bonds, when you sell it off, it is a one-time thing. It is not that every day I'll be having bonds with me to sell. Capital account is always in the nature of a bulk transaction. Bulk transaction that takes place once. Every day Tata is not going and buying plant. It is a one-time event. Once they bought Jaguar, once they bought Land Rover, end of the story. Every day it is not happening. But in the case of current account, export, import, transfer payment, all of that is happening on a regular 24/7, 365 basis. Even as we speak, export, import, remittances are happening. Capital account, mostly a one-time event it is. One-time transaction, a bulk amount will come. They are recorded in the capital account. Foreign investments and loans are also included here. FII or FDI, when you talk about again, these are again what? One-time thing it is. Every day people will not invest. Every day Tom Cruise will not come and keep buying shares of what? Reliance. One time you make the investment, that's it. And you may make further investments based on how it works later. That is a different story. But mostly it's a one-time thing. Clear? That is the way to remember it. What are the implications of a bludgeoning trade deficit? Number one, decrease in GDP. No surprises there. Your exports are decreasing. Your imports are very high because Indian citizens or Indian consumer cannot live without coal, gold, crude oil, and especially the electronic goods segment also, because electronic goods, again, take a good look at your mobile phones. How many of you have a mobile phone here which is from the company Micromax? Very limited or none at all, correct? So we basically prefer foreign electronic goods. We basically prefer foreign cars. We basically prefer coal, gold, crude oil, again, which is available abroad. Domestically, domestic goods hardly we use. Indian manufactured goods, very limited goods only we use. Changes in employment. So when our exports are not increasing enough, what will happen to the domestic manufacturing units? Their profit level, that will come down. And when domestic manufacturing units profit levels come down, what will happen to the employment, or rather unemployment? Unemployment will increase. It will lead to a case of deflation. Why deflation? Unemployment increases. People lose their job. When people lose their job, they lose their income. When they lose their income, they lose their purchasing power. When they lose their purchasing power, they will only focus on basic necessities. Nobody will think about buying an Apple iPhone. Nobody will think about buying a new car. Nobody will think about buying any luxury good. Nobody will think about buying any new property. Everybody's concern will be basic food, clothing, shelter, and obviously hospital. In such a scenario, demand for only these things will remain there: food, clothing, shelter. Sometimes clothing also won't be there. Food, shelter, and medical bill. Only these three things. Everything other than these three will not have any demand because nobody is there to buy it. You cannot afford it. What will happen? Deflation is the result. Prices of the goods will start falling down. Which means what? Prices of the domestic goods will fall down. Value of currency will erode further. Why? Because now you may think, but sir, you only told America, if everybody lost their job, they will not buy Indian goods. So what is it? India's exports decreased. Indian imports in USA decreased. So why will not the same thing happen here? The same thing will not happen here for the simple reason that coal, gold, crude oil. No matter what happens, you cannot live without these three. That is the reason for it. These three are still necessary. Whatever job is there or job is not there, at the time of the wedding, gold definitely gets sold off. If you look into the state of Kerala for an example, if you actually see the gold that is put on, I think minimum these days, minimum it is like 1 kilo gold has to be given at the time of the wedding. That is a criteria. That is almost like a social criteria there in the state of Kerala. Getting the picture here. So what happens here is, these three you constantly need it. Coal you need it for your electricity. Crude oil you need for transportation. Clear? So automatically what happens? Import is bound to increase. And as you keep importing, rupee value will go down because you have to keep making more payment in dollar. Demand is for what? Dollar. Automatically, rupee will come down. Clear, people? That was only a gist of the most important topic in economics. It is a very, very important topic, often repeated question. In a nutshell, summarizing it again, trade deficit means import is more, export is less, which means dollar demand is more, rupee demand is less. Whatever is in demand, value will increase. In economic parlance, it is called appreciation of the currency. That means with every trade deficit, dollar will appreciate. Rupee value will depreciate. When rupee value depreciates, it can lead to loss of employment, deflation, fall in prices of the commodities domestically, further slide in the value of rupee. Clear, people? Reasons we saw: government curbed the exports to fight domestic inflation, lack of availability or lack of supply domestically. Number two, American economy, European economy are in a state of contractionary phase now. So Indian exports or good demand for Indian goods in these international markets declined. Number three, when it comes to imports, coal, gold, crude oil, Indians cannot live without these three. Indian consumer requires these three. So automatically what happens? Always the import bill will be high. On top of it, foreign portfolio investment declined. Foreign direct investment was very less. End of the story. Clear, people? On your screen, with reference to trade deficit of India, recently in the news, consider the following statements. The trade deficit of India reached a new high recently owing to falling goods exports and rising imports. Rising domestic demand for imports of necessities such as electronic goods can be the reason for the increasing trade deficit. The rise in the price of imported crude oil can be a reason for increasing the trade deficit. Note down your answers. 1 only, 2 and 3 only, 2 only, 1, 2 and 3. 30 seconds, people, on your screen. Once again, Smriti. Oh, okay. Okay. Anusuya, Rupali, Chandan, Madhavan, Kushal, Draupadi, Vikas, Smriti, Akhilesh, Supriya. Okay. Oh my God. Yeah, once again, the statements. There you go. Janvi, CA, Mohit, Chirag, Lalam, Prabhat, Rishabh, Nishchita, S. Ashwin, Saumya, Anjali. And yes, 83% has answered it correctly. Bravo. That means you have understood. You have understood what is trade deficit then. Good. Because let me tell you, let me repeat to you, mark this topic right away. Very, very important topic. Repeated question. It has repercussions even indirectly in your mains exam. Clear? Understand this very much. This is a core topic of economics. Mark it right away. All right, people. Leaderboard. Here we go. Anwar Basha, Avneet Kumar, Sumit Arya, Kavyashri, Gajaravu, Devaya BP, Lakshmi Sagar, Nandini, Pintu Gupta, Surendra Mukherjee, Dominic Amalan, Akhil Mundra, Janavi, Anit Kant, Kiran R, Saurav, B. Krishna, Krisha Jignesh Gaur, Shalu Meena, Anshika Saini, Shivangi Patel, Abhishek Kumar. Some new faces, but some repeated faces also. Good going, people. Keep up with the spirit. All right. Now, Indian trade deficit is showing a worrying trend. Evaluate. 10 marks, 150 words. Worrying trend, evaluate the situation. Evaluate the situation means why it is happening, what methods will you suggest? So why it is happening? And yes, it's a 10-marker question. Means what? Don't give a very big introduction. Don't give a very big conclusion. In fact, straight away start writing the answers, starting with what? The definition. What do you mean by trade deficit? What are the reasons? Exports curbed. Correct? Market. US plus European Union are right now in a contractionary phase. Clear? Market is also done. So, market you mentioned, exports you mentioned. Then, talk about the imports. Electronics plus coal, crude oil, and gold. Clear, people? So 1, 2, 3, 4. These many you mentioned. You also mentioned FII is on the decline. FDI is on the decline. Plus, you can also mention rupee depreciation also leads to what? Increased current account deficit or trade deficit. Now, the solution for it. First one, exports which are curbed. What to do? Again, you have to start encouraging exports. Once domestic demands are met sufficiently, start encouraging it again. Through what? Production linked incentive scheme, PLI scheme. Market, US and European Union, they are not at all in a good shape now. If US and European Union are not in good shape, start exploring new markets. South America, Central Asian economies, Africa. Start exploring these areas. Then, import. For that, what you should do? For coal and crude oil, there is only one solution, which is what? Renewable energy. For gold, sovereign. It's an old current affair. Sovereign gold bond scheme. That is, instead of buying physical gold, you will get certificates instead. This much gram of gold, you make the payment in rupee only in that certificate. If you sell that certificate on whichever date, like 10 years from now, today if I bought 10 grams worth gold, let us say 10 grams, 1 gram is around 5,000 rupees. Okay, I get the certificate. So that means what? 50,000 rupees. 10 years from now, let us say 1 gram of gold is 10,000 rupees. 10 years from now, if I sell the certificate, how much will I get? I'll get 1 lakh. Physically, did I import any gold? No. So this is possible. I can get these certificates. Why are people not doing this? Because tell me, for any wedding, can a girl walk around holding the certificate, telling that this is a 20-gram worth certificate that I'm holding? Absolutely not. Where is that power or privilege? Number one, and that sentiments. My grandmother gave this to me. My mother gave this to me. My mother-in-law gave this to me. That sentiments is not there when it comes to a certificate. That is the reason why that scheme never picked up. Coming to FII, FDI, what should you do? Improve the investment sentiments in India. That is what ease of doing business ranking should be improved if you need FII and FDI to come into the country. If you take care of all of this, rupee value will start appreciating. That's it. This is the way you write your answer. Once again, as you can clearly see, I built on the points what I gave. On that alone, the second half of my answer came. Don't have to study anything separately. And the other aspect of it that I was able to recollect because I was aware of the current affairs. That is why it is important to sit in these webinar sessions throughout. Till it is over, you have to sit and attend it. Because you don't know which information is going to come for your help. Once at least if you listen to it, it will be there in your memory. Clear, people? Moving on, carbon market. Relax. Because now these topics, what we are going to deal, does not involve that level of technicality like what we saw with trade deficit. The only technicality, only one more topic is remaining from a technical aspect, which is Enforcement Directorate, because of a Supreme Court ruling. So that we will see towards the end. The next two topics are lighter because it is just plain facts, which you have to just remember. You don't have to rack your brains. So breathe, take a deep breath, drink a glass of water if necessary, and we are moving in. Carbon market. To facilitate countries' carbon market, the government has recently proposed amendments to the Energy Conservation Act of 2001. Let us see. The bill to amend the Energy Conservation Act of 2001 has two primary goals. Number one, it is making green energy mandatory. That means what? Residential complexes, industrial complexes, whatever it is, a portion or a percentage of your energy requirement should come from renewable energy. That is 10 years or 15 years from now, I will write it and give it to you. Any home you want to construct, automatically a rule will come, install solar power plant. Because if you go back a few years in the state of Tamil Nadu or in the state of Karnataka, if you have to construct a home in Bangalore or in Chennai, you are supposed to have what? A rainwater harvesting unit within your home because of water shortage. Similarly, with high electricity demands that are going to pile up in the future, automatically government will bring that rule also. That is, if you're constructing a private home all for yourself, means not a flat or anything, put up a solar power plant there. Clear, people? So that is the future. So here, this energy conservation talks about that. Industrial, commercial, even residential consumers are also covered over here. That is, nobody is left. Certain percentage of the energy must come from renewable or non-fossil sources. It also makes a significant attempt to broaden the scope of energy conservation to cover large residential buildings as well. Energy conservation, that is the whole aspect here. All right. So basically, energy conservation means what? Right from the construction materials that is used to copper wiring that is used, everything comes into picture here. Energy Star rating for the lights, for the tube lights, for the fan, for the AC, and whatnot. Clear, people? Until now, energy saving regulations mostly apply to whom? Industrial and commercial complexes, but not to residential complexes. But now that is also being brought under the ambit. So first part is what? Energy conservation, or rather green energy. Be it industrial unit, commercial unit, residential unit, portion of your energy demand should come from what? Renewable energy. Number one. Number two, energy conservation. is going to be made mandatory even for residential complexes. Done. A domestic carbon market to promote the trade of carbon credit. That is the second aspect of Energy Conservation Act amendment. What do you mean by carbon market? Let us say I have an industry A where let us say I am allowed to produce only 100 units of CO2. But my firm, because I am very aware of the environment, I am only producing around 20 units. So 80 units I have saved. And that 80 units will get me, whatever I have saved, will gain me what? A carbon certificate, which is basically a recognition for the, what is it? Environmentally correct processes, whatever I have followed. This carbon certificate, what I have got now, the 80 units worth carbon certificate, what I have got, this I can sell it to another firm B, which is also only entitled to 100 units, but it is actually producing 180 units of CO2. That means what? 80 units more. Environmentally polluting. So what can they do to show that they are investing in renewable energy? They can give me the rupee and buy these certificates, because they don't know, for them affording the technology or buying it is actually a huge task. For me it is easy because I started it from scratch that way. So when they buy the certificate, I get the money. So it's a win-win situation. Though the ones who are polluting can purchase or meet their carbon obligations by what? By buying these carbon certificates. So thus creating a domestic carbon market. This is what it is in a nutshell. We are going to see its expanded version now. So here I am going to show you two things. Number one, bills like this, like amendment, a recent EIA notification has come. What are the various provisions? This keeps getting asked for UPSC mains. We would have sat and studied about trade deficit, connecting this, connecting that, balance of trade, all that we would have studied. Finally, UPSC will ask something as simple as, what are the major provisions of the recently implemented Energy Conservation Act amendments? 15 marks, 250 words, which means what? You should know specifically each and every salient point there. Because if you don't know that, you cannot write a single sentence. So every act is important. So here I'm going to show you first reading it normally and finding out the points. Then putting up it in a flow chart where you can recollect it immediately. Two ways we are going to see it. Fasten your seatbelts, people. First things first. Energy conservation is governed by the Energy Conservation Act. Energy efficiency and norms will be set up for those units which are consuming electricity more than 100 kilowatt or more than 15 kilovolt ampere. 100 kilowatt or 15 kilovolt ampere, if you're consuming, energy efficiency norms and standards will be placed for such equipments, buildings, whether industrial or commercial. Bureau of Energy Efficiency was established by the Energy Conservation Act. Center can issue energy saving certificate to those enterprises that use less energy. They will issue what? Energy saving certificate. Once you get the certificate, what can you do with it? This can be sold to clients who actually spent more than their maximum allowed energy threshold. Like I told you that earlier example. If I am saving on the energy, my energy threshold, I am saving on it, I'll get a certificate. This certificate, I can sell it to somebody else and make money again. Can prohibit manufacture, sale, procurement, or import of any particular equipment unless it meets defined norms published 6 months or 1 year before. That is basically, what is it? Equipments which come from abroad, which actually consume too much of electricity, they can actually what? Prohibit the manufacture, sale, procurement, or even import. Anything it can be. Then the fine, rupees 10 lakh, additional penalty of rupees 10,000 for each day for every violation that occurs. Clear, people? So that is what the idea here is. So far what we saw, energy conservation. Going back a little, what is energy conservation? We saw about the minimum limit, 100 kilowatt or 15 kilovolt ampere. Then we saw Bureau of Energy Efficiency is established as per Energy Conservation Act. Then energy saving certificate. Violation 10 lakh plus 10,000 rupees per day. Consumers who consume too much energy will be what? Will be fined. Any appeal against such orders that are issued, you can appeal it to the appellate tribunal created by the Electricity Act. The Act also creates and distributes Central and State Energy Conservation Fund. Apart from this, a minimum energy consumption criteria, setting up fuel consumption standards, sustainable construction designs, and encouraging energy from non-fossil sources. That is, as much as possible, a portion of your energy demand should come from what? Renewable energy sources. Clear? These many data. In one, if you are actually taking it up in an A4 size paper, this will come to easily around 10 to 15 points, which automatically means what? You will find it boring. You may find it sleepy. Worst case, what people will do is, this is so general, leave it, this won't come. That's it. One more attempt. That is what it means. And that is where you go for this. Only the important points. Let us take it from the top again. Energy efficiency norms and standards. What is it? 100 kilovolt or 15 kilovolt ampere. All right. For all types of buildings. You are fined as per your excess consumption. You consume more, you are fined for it. Whatever construction you make, it should be sustainable. Central and State Energy Conservation Fund will be created. There will be criteria for energy consumption and fuel consumption. An appellate tribunal for any fine you want to appeal. There is an appellate tribunal. Bureau of Energy established, energy saving certificate, penalty of 10 lakh with 10,000 rupees per day for every violation per day. Last, center can prohibit the manufacture, sale, production, or even the import of any equipment that do not follow the norms. How long did it take? How long did the other one take? That is the difference. This way, what happens is your preparation gets over fast. In a day, you can cover more than 15 to 20 topics in a record time, and still you will have time for friends, family, movies, whatever. Leisure time, basically, your me time. I wouldn't say movies, but basically, taking care of yourself, exercising, eating healthy food, all of that you can manage. Getting the idea? This is the way to do it, people. That way, you will not forget things. And this sort of a diagram, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 boxes. Thing is done. Clear? Moving on. Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Now again, I'm just going to bring this as the standard norm here. What is their first criteria? Reducing energy intensity. Then set the qualifications for energy auditors who will determine how much energy has to be consumed. What is the ideal level of energy? It comes under the central government, under the Ministry of Power, and appoints its own officers and employees. That is all that you need to know. Concern is reducing energy intensity. They set the qualifications for the energy auditors and they appoint its own officers and employees coming under the Ministry of Power. Now, carbon markets. That was our entire article about, correct? Energy Conservation Act we saw, and that is where we saw that the basic criteria is to create such carbon market. Now, what do you mean by a carbon market? Allows the trade of carbon credits, which is same as the energy saving point. What I told you, the energy saving certificates, what you will get, which you are selling, which can be sold, that is your carbon credit. The overall objective is to what? Bring down emission. Carbon marketplaces provide incentive for consumers to reduce their carbon footprint or improve efficiency. Reducing carbon footprint is how you spend money and buy these certificates. Improving efficiency is what? Okay, rather than investing on certificate, let me improve my own system so that I will also get the certificate and I can sell that certificate. Getting the idea? An industrial unit, for example, that exceeds emission restriction may be eligible for credits. That is, credit means you are getting the certificate there. Carbon trading. Buying and selling of credits that allows a firm or other entity to emit a particular amount of carbon dioxide or other greenhouse gases is known as carbon trading. That is, if I am polluting too much, I go and pay money and buy this carbon credits from another environmentally sustainable company. That is carbon trading. Carbon trade agreements. These agreements permit the selling of carbon credits to reduce total emissions. Cap and trade. Cap and trade means what? Reduce your emissions. And because of the reduction in emissions, you get a certificate. And that you can trade. And this is a very successful initiative that had started in the 90s with regard to sulfur pollution. And this is the reason why we have taken it or adopted it for what? Carbon trading. Getting the idea? The cap and trade system was very useful or very helpful in reducing sulfur pollution. Clear? Now we are going for what? Carbon. Carbon markets have operated at international level under the Kyoto Protocol. Kyoto Protocol established emission reduction targets for a group of developed nations. Other countries did not have similar targets, but they might earn carbon credits if they reduced their emissions. That is the idea here. If you reduce your emissions, you will get a carbon credit, just like how it is going for developed nations. These carbon credits can be sold to developed countries who were required to reduce emissions but were unable to do so. Case in point, USA or China also you can take. China doesn't consider itself as a developed nation, but China is a polluting country. So China can actually what? In order to meet its environmental obligation or in order to meet its obligations to reduce carbon pollution, can actually do what? Purchase carbon credits from those less polluting countries. For a few years, this approach worked wonderfully. However, the market failed due to a lack of demand for carbon credit. Due to a lack of demand. Why? We are talking about China and USA here. Why will they even bother about spending money and buying these credits? Why will they even think about it? Because internationally, there is no obligation that they have to definitely purchase them. There is no obligation. So, there was no demand. As the world negotiated a new climate treaty in place of the Kyoto Protocol, developed countries no longer felt the need to adhere the targets under Kyoto Protocol, which was a new climate treaty. Paris Agreement. A similar carbon market is envisaged to work under the successor Paris Agreement. The rules for a worldwide carbon market were adopted in November 2021 at the 26th Conference of Parties of UNFCCC in Glasgow, enacting an accord first spelled forth in the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement. This question here, or this topic here, COP26 UNFCCC 2021, is actually a topic that appeared in the UPSC mains. Clear? Very, very important. According to the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Perform, Achieve and Trade is a regulatory instrument to reduce specific energy consumption in energy-intensive industries. PAT. It is an initiative of BEE. It is an associated market-based mechanism to enhance the cost effectiveness through certification of excess energy saving. Perform, achieve, trade. Perform means what? I save on the energy. I try to save. Once I achieve it, I save on the energy. Whatever excess energy I have saved, I can trade on it. It is a mechanism for achieving necessary energy efficiency in energy-intensive sectors. Initiative of BEE, PAT. Selected industries from energy intensive sectors are classified as designated consumers within particular key sectors based on specified threshold levels required to comply with the announced norms, rules, and regulations framed under energy conservation. Basically means what? Designated consumers should actually follow Energy Conservation Act 2001. They should abide by it. That's what it means. You don't have to write the entire sentence. Why I wrote the sentence? Because you should learn how to pick out only the important point from a very large sentence. Only what is needed, pull that out. Clear, people? This entire sentence in its fullest extent, you need not sit and by heart. Got it? So, what did we see in this whole article so far? Energy conservation, how to do carbon trading, provisions of Energy Conservation Act. We saw there is a fining system, fuel consumption, energy consumption, energy conservation fund at center and state level. There is a fining system we covered already. Then the sustainable construction, there is an appellate tribunal. All of this aspect you will cover here. That's all that is there. Then we briefly saw Kyoto Protocol, how the carbon trading system did not become a success. Then how it moved on to the Paris Agreement, how a new norm has been set where you can do the trading there. Then we saw perform, achieve, and trade under Bureau of Energy Efficiency, which is again nothing but an energy saving technique or increasing energy efficiency technique. Clear, people? With reference to the proposed amendments to the Energy Conservation Act of 2001, which was recently in the news, consider the following statements. It aims to make green energy mandatory for a chosen set of industrial, commercial, and even residential consumers. It aims to create a domestic carbon market in India for the first time. Your time starts now. %42 have answered it as B, and that is the correct answer. Why? Most of you would have missed on this point here. So I think very quickly from this side, Sulagna, Neha, Maitri, Falguni, Arya. All right, let us see the leaderboard now. Avneet, Kavyashri, Nandini, Pintu Gupta, Surendru, Surjendu Mukherjee, Dominic Amalan, Anit Khan, Kiran R, Saurav, B. Krishna, Anshika Saini, Abhishek Kumar, Akshara, Deepika, Mudrika Chaudhary, Ekta Kumari, Raja Manikyam, Megha, Nabin Kumar Parida, Noripchi D. Manak, Srishti Singh. Again, new entrants are coming into the picture now. The veterans are also still continuing here. Good going, people. But again, the point here is what? Green energy mandatory for a chosen set of industrial, commercial, and even residential consumers. This point is correct. That is a correct statement. It is a correct statement, and they've asked for incorrect. That means A is ruled out, C is ruled out. Correct? We are only left with B and D. In that, it aims to create a domestic carbon market in India for the first time. Kyoto Protocol has already created it a long time ago. So this is not the first time. Kyoto Protocol itself tried to create it, but it did not work out. So this is not the first time it is happening. So what does it mean? It means B is the answer. D is not the answer. Clear, people? With that, we move on. The recent Energy Conservation Bill aims to create a carbon market in India, provide the significance of a domestic carbon market in India. 10 marks. Significance, straight away, what can you write? Improves energy efficiency. reduces pollution, will increase investment on sustainable initiative. Industrial, commercial, residential units also will take part in it. Then technology from domestic and abroad, that also will improve. Clear? So all that you can mention there. Again, it's for a 10 marker only. So basically you will give a brief introduction on this and then you will give a conclusion. With that, your answer is complete. China's new emission trading system is already the largest carbon market in the world, 3 times larger than the European Union's. China's ETS is set to rise by 70%, making it the world's largest climate policy, covering more emissions than the rest of the world's carbon markets combined. According to Refinitiv, the value of global carbon market reached a record $851 billion last year. So that clearly shows there are more takers for it, unlike Kyoto Protocol. Important carbon markets of the world include carbon market of Europe, North America, and China. Clear? Increase in incidences of new viruses in Asia and Africa. Again, a topic which is only largely non-technical. You can take it up. Let us see. Majority of cases of known and unknown diseases of global concern come from where? Asian or African countries. Increase in the number of outbreaks of zoonotic diseases in Africa between 2012 and 2022 increased by 63% compared to 2010 and 11. Again, facts necessary for your answer. West Africa was at the highest risk for zoonotic bat viruses. The wider sub-Saharan African region as well as Southeast Asia were also found to be hotspots. Now, we saw that Africa, Asia are the hotspots for spread of diseases. Now, let us try to understand what do you mean by the disease outbreak news of World Health Organization. It notifies the world about various disease outbreaks. That is, any major outbreak that has happened, this disease outbreak news will update. Whose initiative it is? World Health Organization. Acute public health events or potential events of concern are updated here. Online reports about the outbreaks or high-level decision-making that governs information, all these are covered here. This is the importance of what? Disease outbreak news. Notifying the world, keeping a track of acute public health events or those events that are of a potential concern, and it reports online regarding outbreaks or high-level decision-making. What is the criteria for a disease outbreak news? Like who decides whether this is a genuine outbreak or not? First one is the unknown cause. What caused it, nobody knows. And people are just dying or people are falling sick. That comes under the criteria. It is a known cause. Zika virus. Known cause. It is a high public concern because it is spreading at a rampant rate. Any of these three, it is a criteria for what? Disease outbreak news. Now, what do you mean by a disease? Disease means anything that affects the overall well-being of an individual, physically as well as mentally. Clear? So here again, when we talk about from a pathological perspective, from a perspective of the health, physical health, mental health, we are not covering it here. Physical health, when we talk about, it can be an infectious disease spread by bacteria, fungi, protozoa, virus, etc. Or it can be a deficiency disease associated with lack of nutrients, macro as well as micro. Macronutrients like carbohydrates, fats, proteins, micronutrients like minerals, essential what is minerals like both metallic as well as non-metallic. Hereditary diseases, both which are genetic and non-genetic. Physiological diseases, heart-related issue, etc. Cardiovascular diseases, cancer, so on and so forth. Clear, people? Coming to zoonotic diseases. So zoonotic diseases means what? Because of direct contact with an animal to human, diseases spread. Case in point being, wildlife hunting was considered to be the reason for the spread of HIV, Ebola, both. Coming to live animal markets, SARS, COVID-19, avian influenza. Live animal markets means what? If you go to China especially, you will find, say for example, in the restaurants, in a typical restaurant in China, it is a normal thing to find snakes, rats, reptiles, crocodile, alligators, tortoise, all types of animals, which you would have probably only seen in the National Geographic Channel, inside glass cases, in a sleepy state. And if you say that you want to eat a rat or you want to eat a tortoise, they will catch it live, kill it in front of you, and cook and give it to you. So it has a very strange smell. If you go to the restaurants in China, always, most of them will have a very strange smell, which you would have never smelled of in any other part of the world. It is largely what you call the live animal markets. Intensive wildlife farming, which leads to rabies and avian influenza, or normal domestic animals like horse, cattle, ducks, pigs, even they can actually lead to what? Spread of viruses. What is a virus? Infectious microbe consisting of a segment of nucleic acid, either DNA or RNA, surrounded by a protein coat. A virus cannot replicate alone. This is the most important thing that we have to understand. During the corona pandemic, we were all wearing masks, we were all wearing gloves, or we were either sanitizing our hand. Why? So that the virus doesn't enter our body. Because the coronavirus also, it can only survive as long as there is a host. If it does not have a host, it will not survive. And virus only has one job, which is what? Multiply, proliferate, and evolve. Only these two things. With every multiplication that happens, virus keeps evolving. Simple scenario, from Homo sapiens, we have evolved into, from apes, we have evolved today into Homo sapiens. Just like that, virus also multiplies and will evolve. But because the rapid production is so rapid that within maybe a span of few hours, at least 1 million generation of viruses would have crossed. Father's grandfather, great-great-great-great-great-grandfather virus to great-great-great-great-grandson virus. Like that, evolution would have taken place in a span of few hours. So what happens? They keep evolving. And this evolution can happen only as long as the host is there. Host is not there, evolution won't be there, reproduction won't be there, virus gets killed automatically. Getting the idea? That is the reason why social distancing, etc., was being asked to maintain. This is a typical example of what a virus will look like. Let me tell you, none of this is important or you need to study in detail. What you probably need to know here is, you need to know only what you mean by animal cell, what do you mean by plant cell, what is the difference between the two, and the different parts of a cell. This is your basic science stuff it is, which is available in your NCERT. Go through it. All right. Very rarely you will get a question, but more often than not, this animal cell versus plant cell question has come. Difference between various bacteria, diseases caused by bacteria, diseases caused by virus, diseases caused by fungi, so on and so forth. Just keep a list of it. That is more than sufficient. Need not go into the detail of how a virus will work, etc. That and all is not required. All right. This level of detailing will do. What are the challenges in identifying an infectious disease or challenges in identification? First of all, it is infectious, which means what? It spreads very fast through air, through water, or even through body-to-body contact, contact from an animal. So it spreads very fast. It is very difficult to identify from where it all started from. Identifying the virus is the next issue. Whether it is genuinely a viral attack or is it because of bacteria, nobody knows. So finding it out takes time. The origin of it all, from where it started again, what is the principal cause, very difficult to understand. And the causal pathogen, that is it a bacteria or a virus? And if so, what type of virus? Which family does it belong to? Does it belong to the SARS family? Does it belong to the influenza family? Finding it is not again easy. What are the causes? Human-animal interaction. Definitely yes. Like I told you, the wet market, going to the forest or keeping animals, wild animals, or domesticating wild animals, any one of it could be the cause. It is part of transformation. Virus undergoing evolution. Rapid urbanization. Rapid urbanization creating what? Congestion, overcrowding, and slum, leading to spread of virus as well as infections. Wet markets, where all sorts of animals are kept, either for eating or for processing into some other product. Clear? Like in China, etc., they actually have cages with crocodiles. Why? They will skin it and get the crocodile skin out and convert it into leather bags, leather shoes, etc. Clear? With reference to some recent findings about disease outbreaks provided by the World Health Organization, consider the following statements. Majority of cases of known and unknown diseases of global concern have been reported in Asian or African countries since January 2021. There has been a decrease in the number of outbreaks of zoonotic diseases in Africa between 2012 and 2022 compared to 2001 and 2011. These are your options. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Your time starts now. Kushal, Ali Hussain, Rishabh, Chandu, Priyanshu, Anurag, Supriya, Chirag, Tina, Smriti, Ajay, Jinal, MP, Sulagna, Maitreyi, Saumya, C. Ashwin, C. A. Mohit, Saraswati, Swati. Answer is A. Kavyashri, Gajaravu, Nandini, Surendra Mukherjee, Dominic Amalan, Anit Kant, Kiran R. Saurav, B. Krishna, Abhishek Kumar, Akshara, Mudrika Chaudhary, Ekta Kumari, Megha, Nabin Kumar Parida, Noripchi D. Marak, Srishti Singh, Shweta Tripathi, Tenzin Dolkar Bhutia, Komala V, Varsha Verma, Ananda Kumar D. Congratulations to all of you. So basically, majority of the cases, known and unknown diseases of global concern have been reported in Asian and African countries. And there has been an increase, not decrease. Clear? According to a recent study, many of the recent diseases such as monkeypox, Zika, and Ebola were first reported in either Asia or Africa. In this context, discuss the reasons for rise in incidence of such findings, suggest some measures to combat the same. We already saw wet market, the evolution process, the urbanization. These are some of the reasons for it. Countermeasures is what? Decongestion, regulating these wet markets, segregating, separating it out, identifying the causes, immediate causes of what? The spread of this, arresting the spread, proper social distancing, basic level of hygiene, all that you can put in here. Clear, people? It is very general. So, moving on. Or 1 minute. Discuss the reasons. So you can give wet market, correct? You can give urbanization. Then you can talk about crowding. Poor health infrastructure. Then you can mention about poverty, poor governance. Then lack of knowledge, because people should know, right? Whatever activities they are doing, they are highly unhygienic. So all that. For each of these points, you give a counter. Job is done. So for wet market, what to do? Regulate them. For urbanization, what to do? Plan it out. For crowding, what you will do? Slum development programs. Poor health infrastructure means what? Increase the percentage of GDP on health. For poverty, what you will do? Again, financial inclusion or inclusive development. Clear? Then, poor governance. Again, targeted population. Lack of knowledge means what? You have to sensitize the people. Clear, people? So with that, we come to an end of the fourth topic. Now for the last topic, like I told you, the very important topic, Enforcement Directorate. So what is about Enforcement Directorate that we should know? So recently there was a Supreme Court ruling. A Supreme Court ruling like no other. And let me just tell you what is the nutshell of it. Enforcement Directorate now has sky-high powers. That is what it means in a nutshell. Like for example, if I'm a police officer, I want to arrest somebody, I need a warrant. I want to search, I need a warrant. I have to attach a property, court order is required. Seize something, again, court order should be required. Most of the times a court order is required. I cannot do anything independently by my own. Most important of all, if I arrest somebody, that person comes in front of me. I ask him a certain question. Did you do it? He says, yes, I did. I write the report, everything. I go very happily in front of the magistrate. In front of the magistrate, that person tells, I hit him. I physically threatened him. That is the reason why he agreed. Which will have value? What that fellow told, not to me, but what that fellow told to the magistrate. Whatever statement is given to the cops is never valid in a court of law until and unless it is, admitted to a magistrate. Now, what are the powers of ED? Search, seize, attach, arrest. All this they can do. They need not wait for an FIR. They need not wait for a case to be filed or registered. Then what else? In case they arrest somebody, they bring that person gives some statement, that statement is valid. Mind you, whatever statement is given to ED, that is valid. Self-incriminating, if you tell something suddenly which will self-incriminate yourself, it is considered valid. Getting the picture here? That automatically means what? IRS officers are going to enjoy sky-high powers, unheard of, even in IAS or IPS circles. Let us take it up in detail now. Enforcement Directorate. Enforcement unit under the Department of Economic Affairs for handling violations under FERA. It is under the administrative control of Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance. It's a multidisciplinary organization. It looks into money laundering, economic crimes, and violation of foreign law. A basic understanding of what ED is. So basically what the establishment part, okay, for introduction of your answer, you can use. Main thing is what? Money laundering, economic crime, and violation of foreign exchange laws. What is money laundering? Money laundering simply means I have attained wealth illegally. Either I have evaded taxes or I have used extortion, kidnapping, drug sale, weapon sale, prostitution, one or the illegal crime I did, I earned money out of it. This money, I am converting it into what? Converting it into legal assets. Using dirty money to buy legal assets. Legal assets means what? I'm buying a property. I'm registering it legally, etc. I'm somehow showing, no. This is my hard-earned money. This was given by my great-grandfather. That is given by my father. That is given by my father-in-law, etc., etc. Somehow I create. But then the source is what? Ultimately, it is through an illegal activity. Basically what? Dirty money is washed and made to look good. That is why it is called money laundering. It's basically what? Laundry service of the dirty money. Clear, people? Now, in that again, what are the laws handled by the ED? Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Basically, what does it mean? Any activity that you have, any activity that you do where the illegally attained wealth is used to buy legal assets, you use this particular act to prevent such things. Fugitive Economic Offenders Act 2018. What is its purpose there? Case in point, Vijay Mallya was supposed to pay back the loans taken from SBI. Didn't do it. What ended up happening? All his luxury cars that were there, even now if you search in YouTube, you'll find that video. All the luxury cars, your Porsche, the BMWs, the Lamborghinis, everything were driven out by ED officials. They were taken out. All these things were seized. So the economic offenders who owe money to our country, their assets are seized and they are sold off to recover the money. Foreign Exchange Management Act. Foreign Exchange Management Act basically means whatever dollars are coming here for business activity, whatever, that can go. But if the money is coming here basically for what purpose? Either it is illegal asset, or it is unaccounted wealth, or it is again part of money laundering, that will be regulated under FEMA. And what is this? COFEPOSA. It is again conservation of foreign exchange and prevention of smuggling activities. Basically, preventing smuggling activities again. Why smuggling activities should come under ED's ambit? Because smuggling, you create what? Illegal wealth. And that illegal wealth that you acquire, you're using it for what? To buy assets in the country. That is why even that also, a part of it comes under the ambit of ED. Clear, people? For any offense which has generated proceeds of crime over and above rupees 1 crore, ED will come into the picture. Or if the cops feel that the assets found here is going beyond 1 crore, then the charge sheet of the cases related to the economic crime is handed over to whom? To ED. Or ED can ask for that FIR. If more than 1 crore has been seized during a routine police check or a police operation, ED will immediately come into the picture. Just like how today, these days, the moment a terror attack takes place or anything remotely that is associated with the terror happens, NIA comes into the scene. Just like that, ED also enters into the scene. No invitation is required. ED will invite itself to the party. But let us look into the reality now. Only 23 convictions has been secured by ED under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act over 17 years of its journey since 2005. All right. What is the first and foremost reason? ED has not shown any active approach. No active approach ED has shown. Then, out of the 80 cases filed before the special court from 2008 to 2022, Only 3 case charges have been framed against the accused. Out of 80, only 3 charges have been framed. Remaining are remaining as it is. Enforcement Directorate works on the basis of an Enforcement Directorate manual, which is much different from CRPC. CRPC is the Criminal Procedure Code. Whatever arrests you make, you have to show what is the reason for your arrest, what is the warrant, what is it, everything has to be explained there. In short, you have to make things public. Whereas the Enforcement Directorate manual doesn't mandate anything to be revealed. Therefore, it works under secrecy. According to ED officers, getting information on accounts and money stashed abroad to establish a trail is a very big challenge. Why? Because foreign entities, especially when we talk about countries like Switzerland, Cayman Islands, they are very hesitant in revealing the details of those people who have stashed money in these countries. Long, tedious paperwork and official channels for getting anything done. It is very, very difficult. According to a 2019 report, ED had a sanctioned staff strength of 2,300, but it was working only with 50% of the sanction strength. That is the other reason why they are not able to do catch up. Now, what are the new rules which Supreme Court said this is correct? Go ahead. Whatever powers given to ED under PMLA is absolutely fine. It is constitutionally valid. There is nothing wrong with it. Supreme Court has said, what and all are they? First one is presumed to be guilty. Under CRPC, the first and foremost condition is what? You are innocent until proven guilty. But here, you are presumed to be guilty. If I am arrested for an economic offense, it is my responsibility to prove that I am innocent. Until and unless I'll be seen as what? Guilty. There is no judicial oversight to the investigation, which is not entirely true. Because whether it is arrest, whether it is attach, seize, seizure, reasons are forwarded to the adjudicating authority under the law, which is headed by a person qualified for appointment as a district judge. Whatever are the reasons, you write it down and you give it to whom? To an adjudicating authority who is capable of being appointed as a district judge. So there you write the reasons. What are the reasons for arresting this individual? What are the reasons for attaching his or her property, seizing them? All of that. Self-incrimination is allowed, which means what? Any statement given to ED officials is valid in a court of law, unlike the statement what you give under CRPC. ED can attach the properties of an accused even before charges are filed. ED can attach. That means what? If it is my hard-earned money, it is my responsibility again to prove that these have been bought using hard-earned money. Raids conducted by the ED between 2014 and 2022 had jumped 27 times compared to the raids conducted during 2004 to 2014. So, in some areas, this is called as political witch hunting, targeting leaders of opposition parties, etc. But then the ED officials are claiming that we are using the powers under us because we have got the freedom for it now. ED doesn't have the power to investigate or make an arrest outside the territory of India, limiting what? The whole process. Because more often than not, the money does not stay. The illegal wealth acquired does not stay in India. It just goes abroad. So they don't have actually powers to go abroad and make an arrest, unlike NIA has been given these powers. That is, those accused of terror activities, they can be arrested by NIA by going abroad. What is the Supreme Court observation? Money laundering is one of the heinous crimes, which not only affects the social and economic fabric of the nation, but also tends to promote other heinous offenses, such as terrorism, offenses related to NDPS Act, drugs, narcotics, drugs and other psychotropic substances, basically drug trafficking. It is a proven fact that international criminal network that supports homegrown extremist groups relies on transfer of unaccounted money across nation states. With reference to the Enforcement Directorate, which was recently in the news, consider the following statements. It works under the administrative control of Department of Commerce under PMLA, an ED officer can arrest an accused without prior intimation and even without sharing the enforcement case information report, ECIR. Your options are 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. Your time starts now, people. All right. Now, 54% have answered it as option B, which is the correct answer, because the first statement, this comes under the Department of Revenue. So the first statement is wrong. That means A is gone, C is gone. And what about this? Under PMLA, an ED officer can arrest an accused without prior intimation and even without sharing the enforcement case information report. ECIR is the equivalent of the FIR filed by police. So even without this, that is even before a charge is framed, person can be arrested, which is true. So B is the correct answer. And yes, okay. The last leaderboard. So this is how it is. Kavyashri, Gajaravu, Nandini, Dominic Kamalan, B. Krishna, Akshara, Megha, Nabin Kumar Parida, Komala V, Varsha Verma, Ananda Kumar D, Sangeeta, Anup Mandal, K. Maunika, Vishal Pechi, Manish, Dr. Sipra Das, Pushpak, Lakshita Jain, Sachin Gowda, Vaishnavi, Kanishta Chowdhury. Congratulations to all of you for your consistent performance, because that is how you have ended up in the list. Again, I agree. Those of you who have answered it correctly and quickly, they are the ones. For those of you who continuously got correct answers so far, kudos, congratulations. Critically examine the working of Enforcement Directorate. Suggest some measures to improve its functioning. We already saw the Supreme Court ruling itself. You can quote. Arrest, seize, attach, search, or A square, S square. Like that also you can try to remember it. Clear? Then self-incriminating evidence is allowed. Obviously, basically all that Supreme Court ruling salient points you can put up there. Then what? The various acts, PMLA, FEMA, then the Fugitive Economic Offenders and Conservation of Foreign Exchange Prevention of Smuggling Act. This also you will mention. Improve its functioning. Basically what? You can talk about increasing the funding for them, improving the strength for them. These are the two suggestions. 10 marker it is. So no need of too much of elaboration. Straight to the point, you can start away with your answer. Clear, people? With that, we come to an end of our very interactive session. Now for the very coveted Q&A session. If India, Akhil, if India is putting curbs on its exports, then why not on imports? Very good question. But tell me, Akhil, if we don't have petrol, if we don't have diesel, if we don't have coal, how will our economy function? How will you go to your office? How will the trains run? How will the buses run? How will any public transport in this country run? So simply not possible. Gold, I agree, we can put a curb on it, correct? We can say, stop importing, don't buy gold. Will that stop? If you actually put more curb on import, what will you have in return? You will have smuggling. Dawood Ibrahim, Chota Rajan, Chota Shakil, all these people, that entire gang, what you talk about, how did they all start? Petty smugglers they were. Normally now you may be having in your home Nivea cream, deodorants, which are of a foreign brand. There was a time period when all these brands were a luxury in India. And these people, they actually used to import all these foreign perfume, soap, deodorant, dress, etc. from abroad through sea. Through sea, they will bring it, get it unloaded in Bombay, and then sell it here. Obviously for a huge margin. And that is how they started making their money. Slowly, from what started out from consumer goods, including televisions, cameras, etc., what started from consumer goods later branched out into weapons, drugs, and RDX. Getting the idea? So if you actually place more curbs, even on gold import, what will happen? Smuggling will increase. Smuggling increases means what? It clearly shows crime syndicates will increase in the country. Getting the idea? Then, Tehreem, why can't trade payments shift from dollars to gold? Tehreem, in your macroeconomic NCERT textbook, there is a section, that is the last chapter, where it is clearly mentioned that at one point of time we had what is called as a gold standard. Gold standard was there. Why we stopped it? It is very nicely explained over there. Clear? Please do read it. Because if I start explaining this, it is a huge, what is a topic in itself. Because if I start explaining gold standard, I'll have to explain the pegged standard, which was what? Dollar being pegged with gold, and on the basis of that value was determined. Gold standard failed after, and nutshell I will tell you, gold standard was done away with, and after the Second World War, dollar pegged to gold was adopted as a standard. Dollar was the major currency. Dollar's value was determined with respect to gold. After what? Second World War. This again was born out of what? The Bretton Woods system. What are the Bretton Woods institutions? IMF and World Bank. Don't get scared by hearing all this. Beautifully, it is explained in your NCERT textbook. Just go through it. 1970s, Bretton Woods system also collapsed. Everybody just said, enough with this whole pegging system. Let us go for what? Dirty floating. Which is what? Everything will be determined by demand and supply of a currency, value of a currency. If dollar value is highly in demand, dollar will appreciate. If rupee is in demand, rupee will appreciate. If it is not in demand, the value will depreciate. But excessive appreciation or excessive depreciation should not be allowed. So why? Therefore, you will have occasional interventions by whom? The central bank. That is what you mean by dirty floating. The entire thing is there in the last chapter, 6th chapter of macroeconomics. Please go through it. In spite of that, if you have a doubt, get back to us through the mentorship program. We will clear it for you. Bhumi, how remittances affect Indian economy? Very good question, Bhumi. Give me a second here. So how does remittances affect? I'll tell you it with an example. For everything, it is better if you draw a map. This is Canada, USA, Mexico, right? And here you have. All right, at least this much you show. That way people will get to know you have shown India here. All right. Now, somebody sitting in USA wants to send money to India. All right. Let us say my sister is there in USA. Now, she wants to send money to India. Obviously, she's earning in what? Dollar. Dollar is being sent to India. This dollar, when once it comes to India, it has to be converted to what? Rupee. So, dollar is converting to rupee means rupee's value will increase. Right? Because that is why dollar is coming to the country. Dollar is coming to the country and it gets changed to rupee, because the moment it reaches my parents' account, what happens there? It is immediately converted to rupee. Dollar got converted to rupee. Similarly, from Middle East, let us say from Saudi Arabia, also currencies are coming. From Southeast Asia, like Singapore, Malaysia, etc., currencies are coming. Each time, whichever foreign currency comes, it is getting converted to rupee. That means what? Rupee value will appreciate. Getting the idea? Rupee value will appreciate because each and every currency that is coming, they are getting exchanged for rupee. So more the remittances, rupee value will appreciate. Getting the idea, people? That is the whole point here. Sumit, how trade deficits leads to deflation? Please explain in detail. All right, Sumit, here goes. Trade deficit. All right. Trade deficit means what? Imports more than exports, which means dollar will appreciate, rupee will depreciate. All right. Rupee is going on depreciating. Depreciation of rupee means what? 2010. Hope, Sumit, you eat this chocolate called Cadbury Silk. At least you should have eaten it once, or you should have gifted it once, at least to somebody. Cadbury Silk in 2010, its price was 50 rupees. Today, that same Cadbury Silk in 2012 is around 70 rupees. No change in the taste, no change in the packaging, nothing has changed. It's the same product. But then, where you used to pay 50, now you're paying more. 70. Whenever you have to pay more for the same good, that means your currency has lost its value. The good old days, sometimes our parents will say, 4 rupees it was for one plot of land back in 1960s. Today with 4 rupees, I don't think even we can buy one piece of idli or even one parota. Getting the idea? That is what it is. What has happened? It has lost its value. So more when you have to pay, that means your currency does not have value. Case in point being, if you go to Vietnam, $1 is somewhere like 54,000 Vietnamese dong. That is, if you actually go there to buy a Nike shoes, you'll be surprised to see that the price in the local Vietnamese currency, it is written as 1 million dong or 2 million dong. You have currencies, Vietnamese notes on which it is written 1 million, 1 lakh, so on and so forth. That is what you call depreciation in value. So depreciation in value means what? I have to pay more. My currency value is depreciated. Now tell me, what will happen to the cost of production in the country? What is cost of production when we talk about what it is? Land, labor, capital. That is the rent for the land, the wages for the laborers, and the interest for the capital. What about these? All that will be more than, correct? Because rupee lost its value. So what used to be 100 rupees, say for example, take any dish now. What is your favorite dish, Sumit? If you're a vegetarian, I will assume that it is paneer. So 5 years ago, maybe for 100 or 110 rupees, you can have paneer, butter masala with 2 aloo parathas, and then a good solid lassi, buy chocolate, still you will have money with you. Today, for 100 rupees, you can't even buy even one full, what is it? Paneer masala, or even aloo parathe, you have to pay more. That means if food, everything is, if you have to pay more for everything, what ends up happening? People need more money for everything. Correct? To produce anything also, you need more money. If cost of production is really, really high, what will happen to overall domestic production? Will decline. And domestic production, when it starts declining, people will lose jobs. When people lose jobs, purchasing power comes down. When purchasing power comes down, demand comes down for the goods. Demand remains only for what? Only for basic necessities. And this leads to deflation. There is no demand at all. Everything has come to a stop. Getting the idea? So this is what it happens. Clear, people? Nobody has the money to buy anything. Automatically demand for everything will come to a stop. At the same time, this is deflation on one side, where production is not happening. Same time, what will happen to the cost of food, essentials, when you talk about, skyrockets. Because people are not having money, and food is something that you need every day. So everybody would want food. Everybody wants basic necessities only now. Be it the rich man, be it the poor man, everybody wants the food. What will happen? Food inflation on one side. Whereas other areas, you find deflation. Economy is not growing. Getting the picture here? That is what happens. Clear? Madhavan. Sir, won't this carbon trading concept increase the irresponsibility of rich nations that are not considering climate change as an issue? Absolutely well said. I am having money with me. All right. I am going on polluting. With each pollution, excess pollution that I am doing, what am I doing? Purchasing carbon credits and keeping. Because I have the money for it. That is almost like, I'll tell you what it is. Traffic violations, what happens? Violate it, pay the fine, keep violating it again. So what should happen? Either the fine should be huge or the punishment should be huge. Similarly, the commitments made here under carbon trading should be huge, or the penalty for it, for excessive pollution, should be huge internationally. Only then there is any purpose to it. Clear, people? Okay, Shubham, please forward this to the sir. Can you give a method for compiling today's facts or data in a very short note, especially percentages like China, reserves of REM are about 36% and production 90%. All right, all right. So this is from Shubham. Shubham, what I would recommend to you is keep a diary. All right. Page 1, rare earth elements. 90% China, 36% reserve, or even more better, 1 minute. %, let us say production, 36% reserve, China. Done. This is what I want you to do. So that one look at it, you will understand. And this book, you will keep it with you. So two options to this. Either you can keep it as a small diary or a full-blown A4 size paper. One sheet, one topic. That's it. So topic like this. Which are those topics for which you should have too much of data? Say MMR rate, IMR rate, crimes against women, the financial resources that women own, their representation in legislatures, be it the parliament or state legislature, SC, ST, women, their problems, widows' problems, all that. Huge topic it is. Girls' education, everything comes there. For that, you can have 4 to 5 pages. Clear? Now, rare earth elements you wrote this thing. What is India doing? India, we only have what? One public sector unit under it, nothing else. That name you will write. Again, only facts. The other thing you can write by yourself. Application is there, this is there, that is there. Polluting it is ABC, all that you will write. This way I want you to maintain, topic wise. So which all topics are, sir, important? How to know which topics are important? That is where the previous year question paper comes into your help. If you actually go through the mains question paper of the last 10 years, you will find that there are topics which are getting repeated and re-repeated. Find out those repeated topics. Prepare facts on this, latest facts on it, and keep it ready. This is if and only if you are giving your attempt next year. Getting the idea? For others now, you go through the question paper, understand what is the pattern. Otherwise, this is the modus operandi. Clear, people? Which type of flowcharts are not good for answer writing? Jairam. See, Jairam, your flowchart's purpose is that it should be understandable. That is simple flowcharts. This way it is okay. You put an arrow like this, then you put an arrow like that, then you put it like this, then you put it that way. Nobody is going to understand what it is. And sometimes worst thing people will do, in between an answer, they will write PS. They'll draw an arrow, snake-like arrow, from one page to the next page. Don't do any of that. When you're writing your answers should be as professional as possible. Getting the picture? You have to keep professional answers, just like how you are writing a report for your superior. So you must keep it in your mind from today onwards that you are IAS officers. Professional preparation, professional answer writing. So please explain the difference between upstream and downstream operation. Upstream operation means I am doing my own research. I am finding where the mine is. I am extracting the I'm extracting the metal from the ore, processing it, putting it as a finished good, as either steel bar, steel blocks, etc. That is upstream. Take the steel block, convert it into a hammer, convert it into a screwdriver, convert it into maybe a steel table. That is your downstream process. India right now is doing with rare earth metals the downstream process. Sir, I got 7.5 out of 15. Is it good in answer writing? Devarakonda, it is absolutely good. Let me tell you, if you score 50% in your UPSC exam, that means you are in the 1 to 10 ranks. This is the only exam where if you score 50%, you will get the best job in the world. All right. So don't take it bad. 7.5 is a very good score. Shreya, some data keep changing. Should we mark them up to or learn only latest before exam? See, data will keep changing. I agree. But some data will not change so drastically also. Understand? Like for example, the literacy levels and all are not going to change immediately. Or the HDI levels are not going to change immediately. Clear? So some data will not change. What you have to do is, you have to basically, more than the data, understand for which topic you are preparing for. For which topic the data you are preparing for. Based on that, you keep it. So that is what I told you. Say for example, women, child, internal security, all these data you keep. That is not going to change much. Suddenly, it is not that all of a sudden Jammu and Kashmir will become totally free of attack from terrorists. That is not going to happen. So that data you can use. Clear? Similarly is the case with what? Left-wing extremism. Right now, left-wing extremism is on the decline. It is focused only on a few areas, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand area. Fine. Apart from that, more other areas, it is very less. That is not going to change anytime soon. So topic to topic, it will vary. Balance of trade means it is an account of all the import and exports that are made. Amrita, all the imports and exports that are made in the country, that is balance of trade. Balance of trade in balance means import and export are the same. That is, it is balancing with each other. The net import bill, import what we made, and the net export what we made are perfectly at equilibrium. All right, people, it is a last time period. Some of you have asked for topics which are not related to the discussion today. That is the only reason I'm not taking it up. Because if I start that topic, I'll have to explain other related topics. All right. Now, let me just tell you one thing. Those of you who are preparing here, don't only follow one rule when you come to preparation. Don't compare, don't criticize, and don't complain. All right. Don't compare yourself, first of all, with somebody else or somebody else's life. Don't criticize yourself, because there are plenty of people to do that job. And don't complain that why did I take up this? Oh my God, what has happened? Don't do that either, because there are again plenty of people to do it. Understand one thing, you have to have faith in yourself. If you don't trust yourself, nobody else is going to do it. And trust me, you can get people for anything and everything in this world if you pay money. Pay money, you can hire people for everything, except you will never get people who will believe in your dreams like the way you do. All right. So trust yourself, keep it in motion, do things in the most smartest way possible, learn as many topics as possible in a day, use flowcharts, keep data facts on the other side, and go ahead with your preparation. Any doubts, contact the mentorship number 78292 33330. And with that, this is Nikhil Ram signing off. Take care. Good night.